Glenn. Well, the sex industry is under fire again. There's outrage on the Gold Coast with a sex shop set to open just about 10 metres from a kids' skate park. And further north in Proserpine, an adult shop moved in opposite a primary school.
Now, there's a similar situation brewing in Perth. Northbridge residents aren't happy with raunchy flyers being handed out near family restaurants. But who's to say what's right and what's wrong?
Now, most sex industry laws in Australia are determined by state and territory governments. Soliciting street sex work is illegal in all states, and brothels are illegal in the Northern Territory, Tasmania and Western Australia. But legal brothels in other states must be registered so local councils can approve their location.
So, have Australia's sex industry laws become too relaxed? Let's ask the Family Association's Damien Tudehope and representing the sex industry, Fiona Patten from the Adult Retail and Entertainment Association. So we've got both sides here on the couch. We're covered. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Let's start with you, Damien. Do you think it's acceptable to have these businesses operating in residential areas?
Oh, I think clearly the short answer to that is no, but it really depends about what you're talking about. Most councils where the sex industry so-called operates have planning requirements relating to where they should be located. And clearly the operators ought to comply with those planning requirements, and there are all sorts of processes that they would need to go through to establish that they are a legitimate business. But see, the sex industry could be perhaps best divided into two categories. There's the brothel-type category where there are users of sexual services, and then there's the sellers of perhaps sexual material. And they're probably different enterprises, and one is making money out of selling product, the other is selling
toys
selling people. That's right. So they're probably different criteria apply to both. Different planning restrictions would apply to both, and the policing is another issue which needs to be...
Yeah, but you're not happy with anything in any residential
certainly
area.
not in residential areas. I would think that that's really over the top.
Fiona, being realistic, and we all want to live together happily, is there a place for the sex industry in family-friendly areas?
Look, I certainly think there is. I mean, I think our whole cities should be family-friendly. And I think certainly local governments and state governments are moving away from that notion of red light areas. We don't want to see the industry clustered into an area. But I think we do need to find a balance, and that can be done through regulation. I think it also should be aware that the sex industry, there is no evidence that it increases crime in an area, that it increases sexual assaults or anything like that, and that's in international studies and in national. So, but it is about finding the balance, so people who want to access these businesses can, and those that don't have to.
Well, Damien, Proserpine, let's use that as an example, an adult shop moved in opposite a primary school. So you don't think the government regulations are tough enough?
I think that that's entirely inappropriate. And probably the example that I would go back to is the position, for example, in the alcohol industry. We don't set up hotels near primary schools or churches or other areas which are so-called designated places where families are taking their kids. Now, I would think that is a situation where planning laws need to be able to reflect community standards, and community standards would say it's an inappropriate place for sex shops or any sex industry outlet.
Fiona, when Damien said it's inappropriate, you shrugged your shoulders and took a deep breath. Tell me why you think it's appropriate.
Well, no, what I was going to say is, what I was shrugging was saying, I knew this would happen because we're in total agreement. I believe that there are inappropriate areas for adult businesses. I mean, we're all parents in this industry. We don't necessarily want... I mean, our customers don't want to have to walk past a school to go to an adult shop. So I think if we looked at the model of, yes, pubs, I think that's a great model where it's another adult industry. And we do need regulation. And unfortunately, in Queensland, the government does not regulate our industry.
OK. Were you expecting that response, Tony?
I was, because, and in many respects I could understand...
We're going out for dinner after this.
My wife heard that. In many respects, I think it needs to be regulated in many respects, and I expected Fiona to say exactly that, because the best outcome that she could say for her industry is put us in a place where we could do the most trade. Now, clearly, if you're putting us near a school, there are people who are very sheepish about going into those sort of shops, and certainly very sheepish if you're going into those sort of shops near a school.
Well, that's a little cynical.
I think it's misunderstanding who our customers are. I mean, the majority of our customers are couples. The majority of our customers have children. 80% of the people who work in adult stores are women, most of them with children. So it is the same people who are dropping the kids off at school who are also accessing the adult stores.
I suppose I associate some of the stuff that goes on in adult stores as the thing that people are a bit embarrassed about going in and perhaps purchasing. Certainly the first-time customers would be very embarrassed. You may have the repeat customers who say, this is just the normal way that I conduct my life, but certainly the first-time customers, I would think, would be a bit sheepish.
In wrapping up, what do you think, what would you like to see happen in the sex industry, in wrapping up?
Look, I think we need national laws on censorship. It's 2008. It is crazy that each state has a different censorship law. So we need national laws. And if the states want to ban something, then ban it and regulate that. Don't just say, well, possession's OK, but you can't sell it, or, you know, we'll turn a blind eye. We need governments to really face up to the sex industry. OK,
Damien, what can families do if they're not happy with seeing all these communities not happy about these sorts of shops opening up? What can they do about it?
Well, these are planning issues at the end of the day, and if it's would be lobbying their respective councils to do something about it. I draw one issue, of course, is that censorship is already a national issue. It's not a state issue. States have a contribution, but it's a national issue.
OK, we're right out of time. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much.
1,000 security personnel.